Great. Okay, Maija. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session to learn from our two wonderful experts who will be discussing everyday methods to promote your well-being. My name is Anya Drabkin, and I'm a commissioner on the Commission of the Status of Women for San Mateo County. I'm also a clinical psychologist and therefore deeply passionate about the mental health of women and girls in our county. Today, I'm really excited to introduce you to our experts, Maija Cruz and Monica Payne. First, we'll hear from Maija, who's a certified well-being coach at Stanford University, supporting both graduate and undergraduate students. And she also has her own private practice. Her work centers on decolonizing wellness and helping her clients design and pursue their authentic version of well-being. In the later part of our session, we'll be led in community movement by Monica, who has been involved in the fitness industry as an RN, Jazzercise instructor, and yoga teacher for over 40 years. She believes in moving, breathing, and being fully present in our activities contributes to wellness, good health, and ease. So just before we get started, I'll just ask that everybody please mute. And without further ado, Maija, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. All right, so before we dive in, I just want to hit a couple guidelines. None of this should be new to anyone, but I feel like it's always good to just start with this place of being respectful that everyone is at different places in their learning and as well as in their wellness journeys. A big one that's probably quite familiar for folks is thinking about eye language, just not speaking on behalf of everyone, but just for ourselves and what our own personal experience is. And then really a thing that I think is a little complicated when we're recording sessions, but I think in general, we can pick up the vibe here that said here stays here, learned here, leaves here. That if folks are sharing really personal things, maybe in the Q&A, that we want to keep your identifying stuff as personal and private as possible, but feel free to take all of those learnings with you. And then my biggest one is just compassion, ×3, compassion. For ourselves, for one another, and for our process. So with that, now that I have got you here and your attention, I want us to break the rules. And the massive rule that we've learned on Zoom is always look engaged, look at the camera, pretend we're totally paying attention. So now that I've got you fully in, I want you to grab your phones and we're going to do a quick communal wellness practice. This is something that you can do almost for free, I suppose, if we're not factoring in the cost of our phone plans. But I want you to grab your phones and think of someone that you're grateful for. And we're going to send some gratitext real quick. Just pick one person. Maybe it's someone you talk to all the time. Maybe it's someone you haven't talked to in a while. And I just want you to take out your phone and send a quick message to someone and let them know that you're thinking about them, that you care, or maybe they did a nice thing for you at some point a week ago, a month ago, and you just want to re-acknowledge them or just thank them for being in your life. And so I just want you to take a moment, send that quick text, let that sit for a moment. I know we've got folks trickling in. And just a reminder, just to make sure we're not getting any feedback, if you're not already muted, please mute yourselves. And then if you haven't finished your gratitext, go ahead and wrap that up. You can always come back and you can always send extra texts later. And maybe my brain is primed with COVID thinking, but I think of this as a gratitude booster shot. Give yourself the booster shot and really imagine the person that you're sending this gratitext to. Imagine them hearing the ping on their phone that they've gotten a message. Really sit with that. Imagine that you're kind of getting a window or a portal into observing the moment they receive your message, when they receive the affirmation or the care that you've shared with them. Imagine them opening it, reading it, think about what this might be doing for their mood, for how their day's been going. Maybe them having a great day and it's gotten even better now. Maybe they've been having kind of a tough, challenging day and you've lightened the load a little bit. But I really want you to imagine them reading your message and think about what that could do for their day. And bonus is if maybe they end up doing that for someone else because you've boosted their day. really owning the amount of impact we as individuals can have on those around us and how that can really ripple out to other folks. So just a quick little gratitude practice. I try to include gratitude in everything that I do in my practice because it's free. And I love free stuff. So please know that everything that I'm sharing with you today is free, and it's stuff you can take with you and move into the rest of today with these new tools, tricks, tips. Take what works for you, leave what doesn't. Everything belongs. So one of the ways that I just walked you through that practice is you noticing what happened to that person when you sent them a gratitude text. What happened to you? And I want you to think of this quote. I wish I could give credit. If anyone knows who said this quote, please tell me. But I always bring it up in my practice as this analogy of how we think about our inner cup of energy, that you can't give others a drink if your own cup is empty. So I want you to check in with your own inner cup. How is your cup doing? Is it really empty? It's like mine, it might be a little empty these days. But think about what or who empties that cup. Who gets to drink from your cup? What gets to drink from your cup? Probably work, family, life admin. And think about what are those things that replenish it? What are the things that refill it? That little gratitext exercise, I'm hoping that brought a little bit of a bump into your cup, replenished it or refilled it a little bit. Some feel-good hormones that we can promote running through our bodies and our brains. So I want you to hold on to this image in your head of what is your own inner cup of energy doing? What empties it, what depletes it, what refills and replenishes it. And I just kind of want to hold that in the back of your mind as we work through the rest of today. So this is what I do for a living. I'm a wellness coach. And yes, the predominant population that I work with in my 9 to 5 are Stanford students, both grad and undergrad. And the core portion of the students that I support are those who are affiliated with community centers and Payne houses on campus. I just want to chime in and pause for a moment. If you are not muted, please mute yourself. Thank you. Okay, so the students that I work with are from all sorts of populations. And so why so much of what I work on is focused on what is free, what is accessible, and what is fast. And that's what we're going to focus on today, is thinking about what are some of those tools and practices that I can share with you that I see work with my students, and I also see work with those in my private practice. When I'm all done, we'll have a few minutes for some Q&A, and then I'll be turning it over to Monica. So one of the things that I want to touch on before we get into the tools and practices is thinking about language and systems.
Yeah.
Going
She had to fill out the thing.
I'm going to pause for a moment. Anya, do we have hosting abilities to automatically mute folks?
You should do, Maija, if you take a look under participants.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Sorry.
Apologies.
Just want to make sure we're not getting any additional distractions here. Can't quite see everyone. Mute. Doesn't seem like it's letting me do everyone at once, so I'm just clicking through really quickly. Okay. I think I muted everyone. Apologies for the interruption, but all right, back to it. All right, so I just want to touch on a couple of language and systems pieces because in my work, because I work with a lot of BIPOC and queer communities on campus, these are smaller communities that are within the larger Stanford system. And then in my private practice, I work with folks of all ages and backgrounds. And we all interact with different layers of the systems that we find ourselves in. So I want to name some of those here, not as any point of lecture. We're not going to dive deep, but I just want to touch on them in case they bubble up as I talk about this stuff, because I think they're very directly related to our own experiences and even our own accessibility to different wellness practices and resources. So some of the language that I'll lean on a lot, or at least will influence a lot of what we talk about in the wellness world, is things around individualism and independence. For my positive or for my social psychology nerds out there like me, there's so much reading you can do. So please do a deep dive on Google on any of this stuff if it's interesting to you. But I do think both individualism and independence, and then the flip side of that pancake is collectivism and interdependence. I'm not here to say one is better or worse than the other. It's not a judgment, but we're talking about ways in which we view ourselves in relationship to those around us. Now, for example, a lot of westernized cultures definitely prevalent in the US is individualism and independence, kind of that bootstrap American dream. If I just work hard enough, I'll get there. Just work harder, or every man for himself, just kind of those sort of cliched notions, not negative, not positive, but just thinking about sort of that me first, everyone else second vibe. Collectivism is more of, yes, I'm here, but I'm here with a collective. Everything I do is in an interdependent relationship with everything else. I'm in relationship with the people around me, the things around me, the systems around me. So they're just different ways of orienting around the self. Those are things that really show up in wellness world, both the things that help and heal us, and both in the things that harm and hurt us. And they come from both sides. So it's just a framework that I think is really interesting for y'all to dive into in your time and see, what is your relationship with these concepts? How do they show up in your lives? And I think it can be a really fruitful opportunity to reflect on that part of ourselves. Now, the fun one that I bring in here is one I use with my students, probably more than anyone, because we actually have a sign in our office that we take to our little events. And it's a big sign that says, stop shoulding on yourself. And I did say should, by the way. So stop shoulding on yourself is just a playful invitation for our students to come and talk to us. And I want you to think about, where are you using should with yourself? I should be doing more. I should have gotten that done. I know for me, one of my shoulds is, I really should have done the laundry yesterday, but I didn't. So there's all sorts of opportunities we find to use the word should on ourselves. And what I want to notice is, I'm not here to bash vocabulary, but should tends to come with an emotional weight, with a burden, or with a little bit of finger wagging, shamey feelings. If I have any Brene Brown fans in the house, you are very familiar with shame language. But I think of what should, need to, have to, supposed to, any of those things might be creating some weight on our shoulders. And instead, offering a quick reframe, here's another takeaway tool for you, is where can you turn should into want? Or what is a must? What is, I must do this. I have to do this in order for me to feel good or for me to reach my goal. So framing a should, catching it, don't judge yourself for it. Just say, oh, I said should. We're going to move it into a want. So where are you using should, or some of its shame language cousins on yourself? Let's invite a little compassion. And then finally, I don't think we can talk about anything in the wellness world without really naming some of the systems that are outside or external to us. So things like systemic inequities, they are everywhere and prevalent, and I'm sure we can have an entire conference on that too. Power dynamics, the absolutely deeply ingrained tendency in our culture, referring to what's currently recognized as the US, to really compare, whether it's advertisements, social media, just this modern technological age of just comparison everywhere. And then I think also is toxic positivity, really thinking about the, well, just look on the bright side, chin up. It's a very toxically positive way of looking at it, and it doesn't actually help and nurture our wellness. So I wanted to name those things that are external of us. They don't actually belong to us, but they can deeply impact our personal wellness and well-being. So with that, there we go. Let's hit some tools. So tool number one, I call it the 3 foundations checkup. It's a foundational checkup that I'll do with clients every once in a while, and you can do this with and for yourself as often as you want. And I bring them down to sleep and rest, physical movement, and nourishment. And I'm very specific about language here. Sleep is important, but so is rest. They're both important. So we're thinking about things like your sleep hygiene routine. What are the distractions and disruptions that might affect your sleep quality at night, or your ability to take a real break? Maybe when we step away from our desks at lunch or get our lunch break, are we then on our phone doing more things? What sort of planned breaks do we have? And I can hear it already. I'm already so busy. I don't have time to plan more breaks. I promise you, don't underestimate those small, tiny breaks. Even 5 minutes, even 2 minutes to breathe, deep breathing. And I'm sure our second one is going to touch on a little bit of this breathing that Monica's got us covered, is with physical movement. When we think about physical movement, yes, the first thing I know I'm thinking of is exercise. You will not catch this woman on a treadmill. I'm sorry, me and treadmills are not friends. I kind of lean more into the active rest vibe. I'm here for the yoga, absolutely. But I just can't do the hamster wheel thing. But if treadmills are for you, power to you. So yes, physical movement, we're talking about exercise, but I'm also thinking about what are the ways in which we can be more aware of our bodies. Now, if you think back to when I had you do those rat-a-taks, or thinking about your cup, we invited the body into that, thinking of it, imagining it, envisioning it, bringing our senses into it. It's going to be a theme here. So check in with your cup and think, where's my body in how depleted or how full my cup feels? How do I know in my body? So physical movement is a part of that. Doing posture checks. I know y'all have been participating in this conference for a few hours and even since yesterday. So even just taking this moment while I'm talking at you, take this moment to check in with your posture, with your shoulders, with your muscles. Move your neck and your head a little bit, just to allow your brain and your body to sync up with each other. And then finally, I think of physical movement as also including things that are just fun. I might not lean towards a treadmill, but you cannot pull me off a dance floor. I have missed dance clubs so much. Salsa dancers, anyone? Give me a thumbs up. So dancing, even wandering, I think there's a big proponents or a big following for hiking. I don't know why that's a thing, hiking. I don't hike, but I do wander. Give me the easy path and I'll just wander. I don't need to get there in any rush or on any timeline. I'm not setting records, but moving my body and just wandering, looking around, taking a new path on my walks. Those are different ways we can check in with our physical movement. And then finally, nourishment. Nourishment is going to cue up a lot of things about nutrition. Yes, it's important. Eat your broccoli, fine. But I'm also thinking about nourishment like those cups. What fills your cup? What relationships or connections exist in your life that replenish you, that nourish you? What is your relationship with your community, whether it's your local community, or maybe it's a community based on your background, your identity, or maybe you have a faith or spiritually based community. Thinking about what hobbies or forms of play do you engage in? When we get so busy and caught up in life, we forget how important play is. When's the last time you played? I know there's a lot of adult coloring books out there right now. I have a Jason Momoa coloring book in my living room right now. I kid you not. Super fun, but let's engage in some play. There's all sorts of things we can do. What hobbies? Go to Michael's and see if there's a cheap, goofy kit you can play with, or even just finger painting, but giving yourself the opportunity to check in with that playful, no rules, color outside the lines vibe can actually be really nourishing. It's good for your body and it's good for your brain. And all of that is good for your wellness. And then finally, thinking about growth and reflection. This is going to factor into some of the tools we're going to cover next, but these also factor into your sense of nourishment. So this is our foundations: sleep, rest, physical movement, nourishment. Every once in a while, maybe this is a part of a morning routine or a weekly planning routine. Check in with yourself. Where are these foundations for me? All right, next exercise. Told you, rapid fire. We're going to hit you with some tools. 3 good things exercise. For my positive psych nerds out there, also me, you will have heard of Dr. Martin Seligman. He's a famous psychologist, and one of the exercises he is well known for is his 3 good things exercise. I use this and see it work so well for so many of my clients, and it's very simple. Turn off your phone, put it on silent, and then go into a room away from others. I'm not personally a mom, but I've got a lot of moms in my life, so I know sometimes it's just hiding in the bathroom. Totally acceptable. So I want you to hide in the bathroom or wherever feels safe for you. And I want you to either open up an app on your phone or bring a paper and pen and just think of 3 good things that happened today. Just first think of the 3 good things that happened today. And then I want you to write those things down. And if you can, continue to use the same app, the same doc, or the same journal so you can come back to it later. And then finally, I want you, once you have those 3 things written down, then I want you to reflect on, what did you have to do with it? What was your role in that? What part did you play in making that good thing a good thing? What did you do to make that happen? So I want you to reflect on that. And the prescription from Dr. Seligman is that you do this every night for 2 weeks. And you aim for doing it within 2 hours of your sleeping time. So if you usually go to bed at 10, congratulations, first of all, but make sure you try to do this somewhere between 8 and 10. And what this is doing is it's priming your brain before sleep to really reflect on positive things, maybe expressing some gratitude, but that whole key piece of what did I have to do with it? That was a really good opportunity for us to show our agency and good things happening in our lives. So we're claiming it, and we're also noticing, where do I have agency? Where do I have power in all of this? And don't be afraid to include the loved ones in your life in this practice. Sometimes the people that are in our lives are a little bit better at recognizing and celebrating us than we are sometimes. Totally okay. And it can be a fun family, relationship, friendship, bonding activity too. All right, so last tool here is this 3-step wellness goal planning. So we've thought about and sent Brad texts. We've thought about what are the good things that are happening in our lives and what have I had to do with it? Well, now we have to put some of those things into action of, well, where do I want to grow? Remembering some of that growth is good for our nourishment, filling our cup. What goals do you have? I know we all have them. I know for me, maybe I want to get a little bit better about sticking to my yoga plan or taking more frequent walks during the day rather than just going on walks with my dog, maybe a solo walk. Fine. So I've been calling this name it, frame it, aim it. If y'all have great ideas, which I know you do, please feel free to send me better ways to call this. But the principle of the exercise remains the same. So name it, frame it, aim it. I'm going to show you an example exercise or a sample goal. I want to floss regularly. I'm not saying I don't already floss regularly, but we're just using this as an example to say that's the goal. I want to floss regularly. But what makes it more powerful is because, well, why do I want to floss more regularly? Because I know it affects my overall health. And if I'm being totally honest, I really want to be my dental hygienist's good side. I was that kid that got really excited about going to the dentist because I would get the stickers. But this structure here, it's another little tool that I want to give you. Remember earlier when I said, where are you shoulding on yourself? This is a really great framework to interrupt the should and turn it into I want. So where am I? Should be flossing. No, I want to floss regularly. Then we tack on a because. So I want, fill in the blank with your goal, because this is why it's important to me. This is why it matters to me. I want my overall health to have some longevity to it. And I know my dental health affects that. So then the second one for frame it, I think of framing it, like picturing it in our minds, envisioning that next dental visit. I'm going to envision my goal coming to fruition. And when I say envision, I mean thinking of it in our minds, but really plugging into our bodies. Plug into the senses. What am I smelling when I'm laying in the dental chair? I'm smelling that mint toothpaste. And what am I hearing? I'm hearing just the buzz of the electrical toothbrush of the hygienist, not the drill, because I flossed, right? So you're plugging into all of your senses and be detailed. This is really key to getting those neural networks to cooperate on your goal setting. And then finally, we're going to aim it. We're aiming for that bullseye, for the targets. We're setting small actionable steps to create this wellness goal to come into fruition. We want to make sure that we're not underestimating those small actions, small micro adjustments. So things like, I'm going to lay my floss out, usually in the drawer. I'm going to lay it out on the counter. So it's this new thing that I see. It's a novel item in front of me. And just in case that doesn't work, I'm going to put a Post-it note up on my mirror that says, just floss, girl, just floss. And then finally, I'm going to set a timer. Maybe I'm not going to go from not flossing regularly to flossing for 5 minutes at a time each dental session, but instead I'm going to set a timer for just 30 seconds. I promise you, I'm flossing more than 30 seconds. Don't tell Lucy, my hygienist. But what I'm doing is I'm just setting a timer for 30 seconds, getting in there, and as much as I get done in 30 seconds, I get done. I can go longer if I want, but my goal, my small actionable item, I'm setting the bar low, 30 seconds. That way I can say, boom, I did it. All right, so that's just a sample goal, but name it, name your goal, why it's important to you, frame it, really envision it and embody it, invite your senses into it, and then aim it. Set those small actionable steps towards that wellness goal for you. Free. So I want you to check in. How are you feeling right now? We've all been doing a whole lot of things. You've been running around. You got more stuff to do later today. Just checking in with yourself. If you're feeling stressed, how do you know? Check in with your body. Check in with your jaw. I know I hold stress in my jaw. If you're feeling happy, how do you know? Is it in your chest? Is it light? Are you taking deep breaths? So just giving yourself a moment to check in with that. So those are the tools I have for you. I wanted to leave time for a Q&A because I know everyone kind of lands on these tools a little bit differently, but I want to give you all an opportunity to ask questions, chime in, and if there are no questions, that's okay too. My email's down below and we can shift into Monica. So I'll pause and see, are there any questions from our crew? Yes, and feel free to use chat. Yes, I'm seeing some Brene love. That's fantastic. All right. Beautiful. So yeah, those are just a couple of quick tips that are free, available. You can do them at any time. You can pick them up and put them down as needed. There's really no pressure. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways I emphasize with clients all the time is that there is no timeline, that your relationship with yourself, with your body, with your wellness journey, it's an ongoing one. There's not a point on a map that you arrive at and boom, I've arrived. It's an ongoing conversation with yourself and your own needs and all of the demands that are constantly being asked of you. So just staying in relationship with that inner cup and seeing what's filling it, what's depleting it, and addressing it little by little. All right. Yes, questions. Beautiful. As we return to in-person work, do I have any tools to suggest you stay in place of wellness in the office? Woo! My first one that I think comes to mind right now, especially as some folks are transitioning back or engaging in hybrid work, is boundaries. And I'm not saying boundaries in that prototypical, just develop boundaries, that's fine. Not at all. What I'm saying is boundaries in a definition that a very close colleague of mine shared, really stuck with me. Her name is Dr. Megan O'Reilly. You should absolutely follow her on Insta. She's an incredible psychologist. A powerful, beautiful human who does great work. But she defines boundaries as a place where I get to care about you and me at the same time. And so when I think about transitioning back to work, it's boundaries with things like our emails or the space we use or coworkers. I know for me, switching back into being into the office, I'm suddenly realizing how much energy it takes to be around other humans again. So I have to really create boundaries. And it's not about this is the rule, this is the line in the sand, but it's about where is that space where I can care about you and me at the same time. And it's a constant negotiation, much like what I was just saying about your relationship with your own wellness journey, that it's an ongoing negotiation, it's an ongoing conversation. There's no right or wrong way to do it. There's no final way to do it. It's an ongoing one. So I go to boundaries first, but I think the other two is really utilizing this strange return to work post-pandemic time, using it for all it is and leveraging that to really define what you need that maybe you didn't feel like you had permission to ask for before. I think permission is a huge piece of not just boundaries, but in your own self-care and wellness journeys. And I use self-care in a not overused kind of way, but just really addressing, naming what you need and taking those small actionable steps to get what you need. Sometimes permission is part of that, whether it's coming from yourself or asking for it from others. I did get a question in private chat around what's something that someone in maybe a middle age can do to start this change. I'm gonna stop you right there. Unless there's context, please follow up with me via email. I think wellness is deeply deserved, needed, and accessible to everyone at all ages, all stages. It's why the tools I'm sharing here are free. They're free and they're accessible, and you can engage with them to whatever degree you like. I think sometimes, especially in society, we receive a lot of storytelling and a lot of frameworks that don't belong to us. That was my whole spiel around systems, these external things that don't belong to us. And oftentimes we internalize that as, well, this is just how it is, or this is just how I should be. This is just how I am. And I really invite you to think about, where can you disentangle who you are from who you've been told you're supposed to be? And I think this is beneficial for anyone at any age, but I think when we get to middle age or later stage in our lives, we've just had more exposure and more practice being told that we don't deserve to come first, or being told that we don't deserve to care for ourselves. But I push back against that so hard in my work to say self-care isn't this, you know, yogi solo kind of image you get on Instagram. Self-care is you putting yourself first, filling your cup first, so you can actually be available to give others a drink, and being mindful of who's getting to drink from that cup of yours. So I think focusing on disentangling who you are from who you've been told you should be, and then thinking about what are those things that are going to protect that cup of yours. All right. Anya, I'm just going to do a quick time check because I don't want to go over with Q&A. If we have time too, we can come back to some of these questions as well.
I think we have time for one more.
Okay, beautiful. All right, about the culture of toxic positivity. Yes, oh my goodness. This is a whole lecture. I could probably teach a whole quarter's worth class on how pervasive toxic positivity is. But I think where we get it a lot is in places like social media, television. I think even it's sneaky because it fits into like movies and television stories and sort of the moral of the story. Toxic positivity just being that sense of just be positive, just look on the bright side. And on the surface level, that sounds really nice. Look for the silver lining. That sounds really lovely. And I'm sure most of the folks that spread this kind of version of positivity, they don't have any poor intentions or bad intentions about it. We're not talking about the intentions though, we're talking about the impact. That's a sort of like a nonviolent communication thing there. So we're thinking about when we say, just look at the bright side, look at the silver lining, look at the upside, chin up. Then when we say that, we might be saying it with good intent, but the person that's going through it and experiencing some setback or some frustration or just in a low place, what they're hearing is, you're not doing enough, or you're doing it wrong. Or that could be what they're hearing. Some people receive it and it doesn't affect them, and that's fine, that's lovely. But some people hear that sort or that version of positivity, and it then feels like they're now doing it wrong, that they feel bad because they're just looking at it from the wrong angle, that they feel bad because they're not doing enough or they haven't done enough. And it can actually invoke quite a bit of shame, and shame that's self-inflicted at that point, and then sort of emphasized by this toxic positivity. So what we want to do is encourage, instead of toxic positivity, to really think about shifting perspective and validating the experience of that person. That if someone's feeling low or going through a hard time, sometimes they don't need to hear a chin up. Sometimes they just have to hear, that sounds really hard. That sounds terrible. I'm sorry. Or even if you want to help, you can ask, what would be the most helpful thing I can do for you right now? What's the most loving or supportive thing I can do right now? That then we're putting the onus on the relationship between you and this person, or on the situation of naming and affirming them in their experience, witnessing them in their experience, rather than telling them, just fix it, just get over it, it'll get better. It might, but if you really want to be a partner in that, and rooted in a more relational type of positivity, inviting yourself into that process as a witness and as a helper, a supporter, might be a little bit more effective for the person that's going through it. I hope that answers your question. There's a whole lot of material out there in toxic positivity, but it's something that comes up a lot in wellness work and coaching.
Thank you, Maija. That was wonderful, and I really appreciate you taking the time to answer some questions. We may have some additional time at the end of our session for some additional questions. I'm now going to transition us to engaging in an important well-being practice, and falling under number 2 bucket of what Maija was speaking about with these foundational practices, with Monica. And Monica, if you are ready, you can take it away.
Well, hi, I am ready, but boy, that was fabulous, Maija. Thank you so much. I took notes, and I'm not really a note taker, but it was really helpful, and I appreciate it so much. So what we're going to do for my session is move. And you can choose to move or not, of course, if you are just comfortable. Sometimes I watch a exercise video from my chair. And if that's what you want to do, you can do that. But I'm going to lead you through a very gentle practice, do some stretching. We're going to do a couple of standing yoga poses and just talk a little bit about how good it feels to move. And as Maija said, you know, it doesn't have to be exercise that you do. If you're a dancer, dance. If you like to hike. Getting outside is something I highly recommend, right? Just on those days, of which we've all had many, sometimes just getting outside and taking some deep breaths and fresh air is so therapeutic. So you can choose to move any way you like that makes you feel good, right? It's about opening yourself up to feeling better. So I'm going to get out of my chair. If you'd like to stand up, you can. Again, if you prefer to be seated and just stretch with me in your seat, you can. But if you're going to stand with me, stand nice and tall, turn your toes forward, pull your shoulders back, just like Maija said, shoulders back. So we're going to start in what's called mountain pose. So in yoga, we speak of asanas. That means a seat. In every pose we take, you want to feel like you're just so strong, seated, even though we're standing. Palms forward, arms slightly away from your body. A slight pelvic tilt to protect that low back. Feel those feet firmly grounded. Feel the energy coming up from the earth all the way up. And then just arrive. Check in on that neck right now. We are doing all of this forward movement, right? So pull everything back. Get your neck, your cervical spine aligned by pulling your head back just a little bit. And then give yourself a smile. You're here and this is just some fun movement. So from here, let's take a big breath in. And then on the exhale, just let it go through your mouth. Ha. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, let it go. Again, breathing in, reaching up. Big let it go. Yes. Take a little moment here again to stand. And then we're going to just do a little bit of a twist. Reach those arms up overhead. Grab hold of your right wrist with your left hand. Lean yourself over to the right. Push your left hip out. Pull your arms back by your ears. And maybe, depending on how your neck is feeling, look down. Oh, how is that neck? So when we move, we do no judging, right? We are just moving. Take a breath in. Exhale, separate those hands. Reach up. Bring them together. So now a right hand around that right wrist, lift up and over, and then pull that right shoulder back. Maybe gaze to the earth. So, you know, usually one side of our body is a little looser than the other, or just doesn't feel the same. We just acknowledge that we're not the same on every side. So just be with that. We'll reach up through the center again, all the way up. Bring your feet together, bring your hands together, and we're going to go back to what Maija said about some gratitude. Grateful to be here today, to have the lives we have, and to have the ability to make these small changes in our lives to make us better. Some of them are big changes, right? Inhale, lift. Exhale, we're going to go all the way forward. I want you to bend your knees generously and then drop your head and your hands at the bottom. Separate your feet about hip width apart. Grab hold of opposite elbows and begin to sway gently. Maybe a figure eight with your upper body, maybe front and back, but let go of your neck. That heavy, heavy head, let it go. All the time breathing. So inhaling and exhaling. We do it automatically, but we want to start to move mindfully about that. You should be able to hear your breath here. Oh, and then let those arms touch the ground. Bring the insides of your feet together. Come all the way up to stand. Oh, doesn't that feel so amazing? Hands to heart center again. Just close your eyes, arrive here. Inhale, arms go low. Then we reach up. Fold forward, dropping to the ground with your hands. The head drops, knees are bent. Slowly rise up, feeling your vertebrae. So our spine moves 6 different ways, and we always want to warm it up before we start to move. Arms reach up. Hands come to heart center. Right arm reaches forward, left arm reaches to the side. Hips stay square to me, and we're going to just move that left arm towards the back, opening up through the shoulders. Don't we carry so much tension in them? Maybe taking your gaze towards the back, maybe not. Inhale with me. Exhale back to center. And just take that gentle twist to the other side. Really reaching, breathing in, noticing the difference, but not judging it. Just saying, there it is. Maybe gazing towards that back hand. Coming back. Hands back to your heart. Sweep them low to lift up. All the way down we go. Just a nice forward fold. And begin to round up again. All the way. Leave your arms down. Separate your feet. Begin to move your shoulders back. Just roll them back for me. And if you hear some crickety cracks, that's to be expected, right? There's some little air pockets in our joints. And that's what we hear, nothing bad. And then take your arms in the other direction, just roll it forward. Engaging the deltoid muscles, right? The shoulders, they carry so much weight. And then come to the center, arms on the thighs, standing tall. I want you to push your chest to the front of the room, bring the elbows back. Now, tuck your chin around your back, lock that chin in. Inhale, open up. Exhale, round it in. So you can already see these are exercises you can incorporate if you just have a few minutes in your schedule to get up and just begin to move. All of our movement originates in our spine. So we just give it a little extra love here. Just keep moving that spine. One more time in. Exhale. Let it go out. Bend your knees, hands on your hips. Here comes the dance. Hips go right and left. Oh, I heard some crickety cracks in my own hips. So we're just gently moving that hip side to side. This is for Maija, who likes the salsa dance. You can add some salsa moves if you wanted. Otherwise, we're just moving our hips. One more to the right, one more to the left. Come to center. Take that big breath in, fill yourself up. Dive forward for me. Oh, let that back go. Slowly round up. We're going to do a couple of standing warrior poses. So you're going to put all of your weight in your right foot. You're going to lift your left foot up and flex it. Oh, so this is either flamingo or one-legged Tadasana, your choice. Take that right foot now, bring it forward. Turn your right foot out. Hands on your hips, rotate to me and sink down into your legs. Again, that slight pelvic tilt. So the warrior poses in yoga are based on a Hindu warrior, mythical, and we sort of imitate that strength of a warrior. Arms rise up, baby fingers roll in, belly button engages. We pillow through the pelvis, through the abdominals, and then we lift here. Gaze can be straight ahead, or if you're feeling it, you can look up, but never look up if it bothers your neck, right? Take a big breath in. Exhale, sink a little bit in your legs. Do that again. Inhale. See if you can sink. One more big breath in. Hands to your heart, come back to the center, both feet together. So standing now on your left foot. So press those right toes into the floor and then lift up to one-legged Tadasana, otherwise known as flamingo. Step that foot forward, turn out for warrior one on this side. Finding your footing, I'm going to move back so I can see myself. Is this the same side or did I change? I can't tell. Well, if you did this side before, do the other one. But bending into those legs now, front leg, knee over the ankle. Not past the ankle bones. Lifting up, sinking down. Do that again. Reach up, sink. Again, lift. Lower and hold. Feel that expansion. Turn those baby fingers in. Hit your rise with your thumbs. Maybe gaze up. One more big breath in. Fill up. Fill your cup with breath. Come to have the feet meet. Give me that big breath in. Just let it go. Do that again. Take a big breath. And let it go. Lots of times when we're feeling stressed, we hold our breath, right? Don't want to do that. All right, let's stand on the right leg. Lift that left leg up, flex. Holding it up, finding your balance. I'm trying. Step forward. I did do the same side twice, didn't I? Rotate those hips. Try to get them centered. Reach up. Big stretch. And now we're going to open up to warrior two. Left leg is forward. Slight pelvic tilt. Arms shoulder level, maybe a little higher with your hands, maybe. Your back foot is facing the long side of the wall. Sinking into those legs. Gaze over your middle finger. In yoga, we call this the drishti, something to focus on. And then take a breath in. Going to move into peaceful warrior. Lift that arm up to the sky. Maybe go back, or maybe just up. Take your right hand, place them on the ribs. Rotate your chest forward slightly. Feel those ribs, those intercostal muscles. Oh, we've been breathing so hard these days. Take a big breath in. Come back to warrior two. Come to standing together. All right, other leg. So standing now on the left foot. Right knee pops up. Step into warrior two. Open up for me, just sink down here. So what I want you to think about is that you're extending in two directions. There's a saying that you're reaching into the future and into the past, and then settling right into where you're supposed to be. Settle, sink, feel all that strength. Sink a little lower, and then go ahead and reach up for me. Maybe back. Again, maybe that hand on the ribs to rotate and lift up. Breathe. Give yourself a smile. Back to warrior two and back to the top. Yes. How you feeling? Okay. Lift up. Fold forward. Halfway lift. So lots of length in your spine here. Fold. Bend both of your knees and sit back. You're going to just sit in the chair that we've created. Maybe you're still in your chair. The arms come up, the hips seat. Not what the word I was looking for. The hips sit back. Take a big breath. Bring your hands to your heart. Let's create a little movement here. We're going to pulse it for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Hold down 1. Stand all the way up. Hands back to your heart. Separate your feet wide and turn the toes out for me. Bend your knees. Let's do a little gentle stretch. Left arm goes overhead, right hand on the thigh. Back through neutral to the other side. Just lift it. Over you go. Using your breath. Just move for me. Keep going. Couple more. Oh, one more right here. And then hands back to your thighs. Stand all the way up, star pose. Reach up. Sit down. Lift, feel your strength. Feel those feet. Come all the way back. One more time, big reach to the top. Hands come to your heart. Bring those feet together. Move around just a little bit. Maybe wiggle out those inner thighs a little bit. Let's move one more time through one more standing pose. Arms up for me. Hands to your heart. Standing on your right foot. Lift the left foot up. Flexing. Step forward into warrior two. One more time into that warrior two pose here. Sinking down. We're just going to open up our chest and our heart. Rest your left hand on that left thigh palm up. Lean forward. Lift the right arm to the sky. Pull yourself back. Feel that opening from your foot through the hip up. So you want that open feeling. So make sure you're just pulling back. Sinking in. One more breath in. One more breath out. Warrior two. Reverse your warrior, lift up, go back. Come to the top, Feet together. One more time, we're gonna move. Take a breath in just to kind of, let things go, right? Standing on that right foot, left leg comes up. Oops, absolutely wrong. Other foot. Weird when I'm watching myself on here. Reach that leg up. Step forward to warrior two. Reaching out. Finding that length and that depth here. Right hand on right thigh. Pull the chest back. Left arm to the sky. Feel that. Hold yourself together. Push that left hip out using the strength of your lower body. Breathing in here. And breathing out. One more breath for me, maybe a little deeper in that front leg. Back to warrior two. To exalt your warrior. Reaching back. And then coming to stand. How are you feeling? You okay out there? We're going to end soon. So let's end in tree. You can stand on either leg. And I should have told you before, anytime that we're doing any pose and anytime you are doing anything in movement, you can support yourself by holding on to something, by holding on to a wall or a cabinet. So tree pose, I'm sure you've seen pictures of it if you've never done it. Standing on one leg, imitating the rooting of a tree and the lightness of the branches. So you push into whichever foot you choose. The other leg comes either to ankle, calf, or upper thigh. Ooh, I might need the support today. Every day is different. You want to turn that hip out and then decide if you want to keep your hands to your heart. Or if you want them to be branches. Don't forget, you've got the wall or to lower that foot. Reaching in two directions, feel the rooting of your foot. And the reaching of your arm. One more big breath here. Make it a pose, just switch right to the other side. Putting that leg, that foot wherever you'd like it to be. Rotating that hip out slightly. And then deciding what you want to do with this arm. Feeling all of your strength and stability and your own personal power, right? Movement allows us to feel some strength. Maybe close your eyes and see what happens. It's a lot. Do that. Take a big breath in. Hands come to your heart, feet come together. Let's inhale again. Let's just fall forward. Give me a flat back. Really reach forward with your head now. Drop down. Bend your knees. Roll up. Roll those shoulders back. And that's it for our workout today. Just a little bit of movement. So thank you for joining me. Take this out. Take Maija's words. Go move. Nourish yourself. Do things that you know will make you feel better so we can be better for the world, right? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica. Does anybody have any questions for Monica or for Maija as well as we wrap up today's session? Please feel free to write a question or comment in chat or unmute yourself as well. I'm just seeing appreciation for this enriching and nourishing session, somebody said, and for this fantastic movement flow, Monica. And I also just want to extend my deepest gratitude to you both for sharing your expertise and to all of you for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you in a few minutes in our closing keynote. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful rest of your conference. Bye-bye.